Hey, America. With all the mayhem that's going on right now, let's not forget that J.D. Vance is just a couple of bad Big Macs away from becoming the President of the United States. And you know what they say when you become really successful or perceived successful, you can't go home again. Well, in this breaking story, it literally may be difficult for J.D. Vance to go home again after you see what his hometown paper just laid him out about. And I'll show that to you in just a few seconds. But let's take a quick reminder of two of the really stupid things he just did since the election regarding Catholicism, immigration, and, oh yeah, siding with that far-right German party, AFD. Take a listen.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accused European leaders on Friday of censoring free speech and failing to control immigration in an address at the Munich Security Conference in Germany.
I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still, which of course brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
As a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement.
Oh, no!
And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe.
You think the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops are actively hiding criminals from
I think the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has frankly not been a good partner.
This democracy was called into question earlier by the U.S. Vice President for the whole of Europe. He spoke of the cancellation of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compared conditions in parts of Europe with those in authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not acceptable.
And with all respect, that's just a couple of the blunders that he's made in terms of foreign policy and also Donald Trump's policies and executive orders here at home. And he just got absolutely railed on in the state of Ohio by his hometown paper. You do not want to miss this. Here it is.
Ohio's J.D. Vance, rebuked by the Pope, denounced by NATO allies, ridiculed for bizarre rant. J.D. Vance has really done Ohio proud these last few weeks, hasn't he? The lapdog vice president, with evidently a lot of time on his hands, has managed to be firmly rebuked by Pope Francis, denounced by outraged NATO allies, and widely ridiculed for his bizarre masculinity rant at a weekend MAGA fest just a month into his tenure. Way to create a buzz-acute embarrassment back home. What is wrong with JD? Have the wheels come all the way off? Why does the 40-year-old awkwardly playing VP keep stepping in it stateside and abroad? Is the childless cat lady's charmer acting out unresolved rage from a bad place, working through some deep-seated anger? Seriously, Vance manifests juvenile cringe, not sober sway, as he settles into his nondescript role as an appendage in the Trump-Musk administration. Even Trump won't name him as a slam-dunk heir apparent. Not good. For a supposed Ivy League intellectual, Vance sure spouts stupidity on the regular. Honestly, you've got to be really off base on Catholic theology for the Vatican to correct your twisted take on love with descending priorities as justification for mass deportations. But American Citizens First, nativist Vance, has no interest in building a fraternity open to all, just an all-white patriarchy focused on baby-making. To that point, he started a holy war, barely a week after inauguration, against charitable organizations across the country that feed, clothe, and house refugees and immigrants, i.e., Catholic charities and Catholic relief groups, by implying they perform their labor of love for federal money, not humanitarian concerns. Devout Catholic? Convert? Vance went all glib and combative on compassion and care for the least of these because they included brown and black mothers and fathers and children fleeing horrendous homelands for hope. But upholding the dignity of every human being, native-born or not, as a core tenet of Christianity clashes with the core MAGA mission to degrade, shackle, and ship terrified families back to the foreign hellscapes they fled. Vance threw nasty and mean into the mix to look tough on dehumanized illegals and scorn mercy. He is a dutiful, if not decent, Trump toady. But the swift rebuttals to Vance's hollow broadsides from the church and the Pope himself only reinforced the Veep's smallness as a smug sycophant slinging ugly. Whatever reputation Vance may have enjoyed in the past as a thoughtful individual with at least a modicum of integrity is long gone. With a brief stint as a venture capitalist, an even briefer stint as Ohio Senator, and now VP, Vance is heady with power and hubris over his meteoric rise from bending the knee to a man he once derided as America's Hitler. Vance, the shameless election denier in service to an authoritarian regime, lawlessly dismantling a democratic republic, had the towering audacity and historical blindness to lecture his European audience on democracy, downplay threats from Russia and China, and publicly court a far-right German party, AfD, that many Germans consider the heirs of Nazi ideas, and that sanitizes the Holocaust. His blistering dress-down of European leaders, rightly dismayed over rising extremism and history repeating itself, coupled with his pronounced affection for far-right politicians a week before a crucial German election, U.S. election interference, was obscene. The last thing the world needs now is a U.S. vice president trashing 80 years of foreign policy with America's closest and most enduring friends. But that's what a dangerously reckless Vance did on the world stage to compete with Elon Musk and boost his nascent brand as an uber-nihilist, bent on destroying plurality for purity and seeding a new world order. It's wingnuttery on a disturbingly dark scale. But Vance, for all his performative bravado, whether it's lashing out at European allies for not welcoming extremism, or engaging in petty posting on X, or weirdly obsessing about the essence of masculinity and a broken culture that tells you you're a bad person because you're a man, is a phony. He morphed from never-Trumper to groveling suck-up for unimagined power, but he can't quite pull it off as a poser with a makeover beard spewing stupid and offensive and strange. Vance has been doing us proud by attacking friends, embracing enemies, insulting humanitarians, drawing papal ire, and pontificating laughably on what makes a man a man. Seriously, what is wrong with JD?
I tell you what, I'm going to keep my rap really short since that piece ends with what is wrong with JD Vance. Well, he's a completely disingenuous, power-hungry, flip-flopping, soulless train wreck. There you go. That's what's wrong with JD Vance. Hillbilly elegy? How about a spine made of jelly? How about that? You guys hang in there, breathe, enjoy your lives, but stay frosty.